Is it warm up yet?
Oh, Dave.
Warm up and loading monitor. Okay, this mouse is not. Yep. Feed is running. Reshares made. David has posted first. But David, you can also post thirst.
What?
Andre has said, damn it, naunahan ako. Yeah, clones naunahan ka. Damn it.
I know, you don't need to explain. It's terrible either way. Oh my gosh.
David says, once upon a December. Is that a song reference?
I don't know. Could be. Bum, 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 bum.
Wasn't that in Anastasia? I don't know what I'm like thinking. Was there a once upon a December?
I can't help Toby.
Jay says, good morning. I'm not sure what time zone that is.
Okay, so now I have to ask. It's like, does anyone else know the Christmas album by the Chipmunks?
Zeman just liked us on Facebook.
That doesn't mean he viewed the...
David says, I thought you were humming Once Upon a December.
Oh no, it was...
It's Rocky's Quacky the Duck song.
No, it's not. I said because nobody dies in mine. It's a perfectly decent Christmas song.
It's got singing mice.
Chipmunks, different. Christmas, Christmas time is here. Time for toys and time for cheer. We've been good, but it won't last. Hurry, Christmas, hurry fast. Want a plane that loops the loop. Me, I want a hula hoop. We can hardly stand the wait. Please, Christmas, don't be late.
I'm getting a hula
hoop. Yeah, I don't know. It's that time of the year when you remember random Christmas songs. And that's what I get. I get Chipmunks. He's a Totoro.
They're not official merch, if that's what you're asking. But yes, it's Totoro.
Totoro.
Hey, Carlo. I'm really tempted to have those shirts made.
Do 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 do.
Sorry, Andre, no one's looking for grapes.
It's okay, Carlo. Last night is still immortalized as a video, but if you will watch it in hindsight, watch it on YouTube. So I get residuals. Hello, Karen.
But you'll need to watch last night to understand. Just kiss.
What may be the hottest selling piece of merchandise? It may be the first piece of merchandise for Baduy Pride.
Yeah. Should create that.
It's the best way for, to show affection.
Hey, Karen.
Because of COVID.
So do we start in a few minutes, or should we start now?
Well, if we like to start on a flat number, then we should wait 3 minutes. I didn't quite get the Alvin's obsession with the harmonica in that album. There was like there was a story around it, and he really wanted this special harmonica. Harmonica. I kind of wanted a harmonica because of that song. And then I realized what it was when I first had a harmonica, one of those toy ones. I'm like, oh my god, this is a terrible instrument.
Yeah, I'm still scarred because we worked on the Alvin and the Chipmunks game. So that was a lot of hearing the songs over and over again.
Oops. One, I haven't prioritized internet. Two, your torrents are on.
Yeah, they are.
Because I saw something finish.
Yeah, they were. They're off now. But yeah, starting in 2 minutes. Yes, Karen, fist kiss. I still want to make it a shirt. But I want to like add artwork. I don't want it to just be text.
But how would it be?
I don't know yet. Should it be 2 illustrations? One kissing and then one fist up? Should it be a fist with a lipstick mark? I don't know.
But I need minimum order 50.
50 pieces.
What are we gonna do with 50
merch?
Fish?
Yeah,
Kiss shirts.
I was kind of hoping it was like print to order, like the previous service I found.
No, it's minimum 50 shirts.
I'll try.
And we'll have to get them all in one size.
Yeah, so I'll have to keep looking for other made to order options, not like the one that ran away with my money. Because I never got paid for the shirts I got printed before.
Then again, they are also closed. So
yeah,
I guess that explains that.
Well, assuming they closed, it's also possible they just shut down and started a new one.
It's hard to do merch when the show hasn't really earned money to support itself.
I mean, at worst, if we really want, we could open a Patreon
for Baduy Pride. Oh no, I don't know if that's a good idea.
And then we'll have like Patreon milestones. Like if we hit 20 patrons, we'll always open the 5th episode with a song or something like that.
That may cause a drop in patronage.
It's 9:10, so we will start. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
Good job for pronouncing internet. All right, so this is completely unscripted, not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us. We talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. It's our 103rd episode, and the next 30 minutes minimum, we are talking about
Tokaido.
Oh, the name's not visible there.
Okay, yeah, and this is the fabulous collector's edition of the game, which the sheer whiteness of it is disrupting our color balance.
So Tokaido is a big game. A big game with a lot of cards, but not a lot of components.
Not necessarily this big though, because this is a special edition that it was designed to accommodate the expansions that were built in. So it includes, well, in terms of like listed expansions, the game includes the Crossroads expansion and the Matsuri expansion. And then there's like the limited edition Enkil expansion for a single character, and it comes with 2 special characters that only come with this set along with some others. So yay, it's a lot of stuff.
So overall, so the game is a traveling tourist game, so to speak. Many friends even joke that it's the Filipino travelers game.
We are the friends. We are the friends who make this joke.
Well, we're not the ones who started it. There have been other people joking about it as well.
Really, I feel like we started.
Yeah, we kind of did.
At least every time we introduce the game, we're the ones who tell people it's a tourism game.
The game, as shown earlier, has a massive board that can be played towards the left or towards the right. Players move across the board by taking action spots, which then determine the actions they take in the game. The different action spots, which are these dots on the board, allow one or two players, depending on the number of players active in the game session, to trigger different ways to earn points.
Mm-hmm.
And a large part of the game that makes it pretty is the fact that it's mostly white, so it makes all the other colors stand out. Let's open the box.
That's gonna fall.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. One of the first interesting parts of Tokaido is the fact that the movement rule is very particular. Where you are traveling up and down the Tokaido road and you're trying to have the most meaningful experience. Wow, it's like I have wallpaper.
Yes.
It's
a big board.
Yeah, so as you travel, you will
I'm trying to show them the board.
And it's so white. Look, it totally disrupts our color.
It has changed the light balance of the show.
Yeah, so you can see little pictures that depict what the spots are, and it's these solid dots that your characters will actually stop on.
Mm-hmm.
So some places only have a single dot, some have two dots.
But the two dots are only active with certain numbers of players.
4 to 5. So how does Tokaido pan out? So movement is determined by normally the last player in the line moves first.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to, what was that other game we mentioned recently? Oh no, it was another game we were watching how to play.
Yes.
Okay, it was something we talked about. It was something we watched on Shut Up and Sit Down. All right.
But basically, the game allows you the freedom to choose the spot you want to land on, assuming it was open. But the further forward you go, the bigger the chances that the other players will then have multiple turns before you have your turn, because you are only allowed to have a turn as long as all the other players are ahead of you. And that's a large part of what makes the gameplay interesting.
Did that help?
Because you could jump forward to grab the slots you need to gain those combos based on the point
Based on your
combinations.
characters.
But that might then open up opportunities for the opponents to do multiple things in each round.
Someone didn't return token. Let's do though. Okay. All right. So you all start with different characters, and this is whether, regardless of edition of the game, your character has. Oops, that didn't really help. Starting money, and then special abilities. It takes a while to fully understand the symbols of the game, but then when you do, it'll all make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So these characters
Have a corresponding
token. Well, in the original game, this one, in the original game, they had very generic player markers, which are like this. It's not even a meeple. It's a dude. It's a tall dude. Okay, that's the base game. That's like the original Tokaido. The collector's edition comes with very cute minis that represent the different characters.
And even more minis.
And more characters, including one inspired by representing the artist of the game, and the other representing the designer.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! So based on these characters, you will travel along, and that's the only reason why you're going to prioritize a certain slot over others, because you might have a bonus at the bathhouse where you're looking for monkeys, and this sentence totally makes sense. But so you might want to jump to the bathhouse space, but by doing that, other players can now visit all the spaces that you've skipped.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the challenge.
So looking as close as we can move the board without losing focus, You'll notice on the, I guess that would be the big portion here. There. This is the inn, which serves as the start, or if it's in the opposite end, the end of the game. The red spaces determine player order, with the player furthest from the inn being the first one to leave. After that, you have the different spaces, from the space that allows you to buy stuff in the souvenir shop, to the temple where you can leave offerings, to meeting someone on the road,
Encounter!
to meeting the painter who does the green portraits,
Panorama!
visiting the hot springs in hopes of seeing the monkeys, visiting the painter with the white portraits, visiting the farm because the farm is the only way to get money in this game.
Koku!
And you'll notice the last one that hasn't been mentioned is the blue painting spot. And
Which is also a panorama.
It's another inn.
Okay, so, oh my god, I can see the staining on the thing. Okay, as you travel, so it really depends. And all of these things will generate points. And then I think on average, you'll probably get, if you get like 2-3 points, that's pretty awesome. Depending, as things progress. And there's different interactions and all that. But because of the fact that there are multiple players, you will get cramped up and you'll end up skipping spots and stuff. So it's really hard to say. Andre is asking, like, was this more places you visit, the higher the points are? Not necessarily. You have to figure out patterns, what sets you're building, what you're aiming for, and what bonus abilities you may have. For example, there are characters that every time they have an encounter, they generate an extra point and a coin because they dance for their entertainment. So you may want to prioritize that.
The souvenir shop allows you to earn more points as you create sets of items, because there are 4 different items in the game to collect.
4 different types of souvenirs.
You might have multiples of the same item type, and that's fine. It just means less points, but bigger chances of building greater sets. The temple is deceptive because it has you offer a coin for an instant point, but you'll notice this chart here in the top, which is the temple space. All your coins are tracked here. And at the end of the game session, whoever has offered the most coins gets an extra 10 points.
Because you have to be publicly more generous than others.
The followers, as Rocky mentioned, can give you more points if you're playing a character who likes getting encounters with people. But the encounters themselves open opportunities, everything from the samurai who gives you a flat 3 points, to characters who give you extra painting slots or even extra merchandise. The paintings are one of the interesting innovations in the game. There are 3 types of paintings, which are blue, green,
white, and green.
Yeah. And each one, when visited, has you draw whatever card you do not have yet of that color. And you will notice
You're not. By the way, no.
There, I can't. Your orientation, so you'll have to do it.
And facing the face the camera. Wee! It's a painting.
So the green has 3 cards that form a single painting. White has 4, and blue has 5, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So there's that option to, do you try to rush completing a certain painting, or do you at least grab it even if you don't plan to complete it, just to deny someone what might have been the last card they needed? The farm, as mentioned, is one of the few places to get money. The other option being if you find a follower that gives you money.
Yes. There is that generous one who's like, have money. But yeah, so there are lots of ways to score. And then...
Oh, and the hot springs.
The hot springs. It's either you get 2 points or 3 points if you happen to be bathing
with a monkey.
So look for the monkey. Okay. Things to note, though, is that eventually you will hit the end.
Yes.
So you'll all be leapfrogging so that the player who's last keeps moving first, player who's last moving first. But once everyone is at the inn, you have to stop and wait. And this is why we always say it's like a Philippine tourism game. Because you keep waiting for the slowest person who's still out shopping. And then you can't eat until you're all together. So you wait for dinner. once you're there, the first player who's there has his choice of food. He has to buy it, and it costs anywhere between 1 to 3 coins. But regardless, the food will give you 6 points. But it's painful if you don't eat, then you don't get those 6 points. Worse still, because you are professional tourists, you will never eat the same thing twice. So you are constantly
looking for
something different to eat, and it may force you to purchase more valuable food.
Now you might be thinking, now having heard all that, then it's really all a matter of just choosing which location to keep going at to make sure you're the first one there. But it's not that simple, because there are the awards. It's not visible next to the light.
Yeah.
There.
So there are certain things that you have to race for. For example, panoramas. The first to finish each of the 3 different panoramas can get an award worth 3 points. But it's only for the first person to finish the panorama. And we have seen cases where 2 people finish in succession and sorry, only one dude gets it. Okay. The rest of the awards are given at the end of the game for having the most encounters, for eating the most valuable food, which is totaling the coin value of all the meals you purchased, having the most baths, and it's regardless
With or without monkey.
Yeah, regardless of points you generated, it's a number of bath cards you have, and then for collecting the most souvenirs. So all of those are 3-point awards, and some characters have special abilities that give them more points for awards. So it is very, very tricky. And each game can be unique based on what player you end up with and how you play through. That's the base game of Tokaido, which is already lovely, and especially with the minis we already are happy with. And I'm just fixing. Okay.
Since we got the collector's edition, however,
we have metal centers. No. They make your hands smell like metal. No, but they are coins for the game. That's great compared to the standard cardboard games that you get in standard, which are still, not bad. So the first official expansion of the game, which is part of this collector set, is the Crossroads Expansion. And the Crossroads Expansion is all about choices. So at each action space, it now has a second option that you can choose. Typically, you have to pay coins for these options. For example, at the temple, you can purchase a charm instead of donating.
Yes.
At the
portraits, you can visit the cherry trees instead.
And the cherry tree is a flat 1.1 coin, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
In the hot springs, you can choose to visit the bathhouse instead,
which can give you more points.
The farms are still farms, but you now have the option of going to the game room where you bid an amount of money. You roll the die and see if you win money. And then you have the calligraphies, which are the legendary objects, which are the other option in the shops.
Yeah. And so it's like weird stuff like valuable swords of high points, or a 5th type of souvenir to increase your set size.
Instead of encounters, you can have calligraphy.
Yes, and these are end of game awards reflecting certain achievements you will try to aim for. For example, like being the last to arrive, things like that. So they are a lot trickier to achieve, but they're still worth points at the end. Okay.
So with all those choices, even if you were familiar with the base game, you now feel like there's more strategies, more opportunities to explore in the game. With the expansion also comes a few new characters.
Yep, and they are obviously people like, for example, this guy's holding a giant die, so he is all about gambling and things like that.
Or like you have Kita, the old woman, who can carry both actions when stopping at an encounter space. So she can literally buy a calligraphy card and still meet someone.
The power of the Crossroads! So that was already like quite awesome, right? So in between, because of the Kickstarter, there are mini expansions. One being the Enkel character, where he has like extra food. There's a single card out for it. And then part of the Kickstarter edition is these exclusives. This one's based on the artist who collects the panorama in reverse. So instead of starting with the 1 point, 2 point, 3 point card, it gets them in reverse order. And then, of course, there's one for the creator Bauza, where he wins ties. I think it's pretty. It sounds simple, but hey, winning ties is always a big thing.
And soundtrack.
There is an official soundtrack for the collector's edition, which works with almost any Asian-inspired game. The complete tracks are also available on YouTube and Spotify, but you can get the physical CD with the collector's set. Finally,
There's more.
the expansion that was created specifically for this release, but it was also released as standalone expansion, is the Matsuri expansion. Matsuri expansion, which is festivals.
Festival.
Hooray! So every time you get to the inn, something special may happen because it is festival time, but it only happens in the inns in the middle.
So there are now festival events that happen, and they affect the game for the duration of that journey. So as you know, from the start, you go to the inn, and then another inn, and then another inn, and then the end of the game. So you have 3 different festivals at least that happen during the game.
Yeah, because there's some that like trigger a second festival theme.
Festivals include Obon, for example, wherein each traveler, in the order they arrive at the inn, can immediately donate money to the temple because it's the Festival of the Dead.
That's
You
not
could
that
have
great.
Oshogatsu, or the New Year's Eve, wherein each traveler, in the order they arrive, can immediately roll fortune and take that number of coins in the result. So may Happy New Year
But
gifts.
watch out, there's an X, so you could get nothing.
You could even trigger something like Yamanoko, or the mountain, wherein until the next inn, each traveler who stops at a mountain space can take 1 additional mountain panorama section.
Ooh, and that's the
before
white
making
panorama.
the usual choice of a panorama
Or a
or
cherry,
cherry
blossom.
tree. So whenever now you land in those areas where you get portraits, you can actually double up or get both. So all these festivals are pretty amazing. They affect gameplay in so many ways. And in many cases, you even might find yourself choosing to be the last one to leave, just so that you have a better look at the lay of the land.
This expansion also comes with 16 new characters for the game. And guys, total envy, because this was the highest tier of the Kickstarter. These are based on 16 people who pledged for the
Yes.
game. So their likenesses were captured as characters, and
But not their names.
yeah, not their name, but it's still super awesome. Hence, you have very interesting ones, like the fact that someone is traveling and she has a little suitcase. Shihaya always looks like Pocahontas, but she's like someone who showers really well. Things like that. And then this guy got to immortalize it with his baby. Such envy. So kudos to them, right?
So that, in a nutshell, is Tokaido.
Ta-ta.
Double checking if there are any comments that are worth.
There's crazy stuff too. Like some of the festivals close spaces on the board. Suddenly, no temples are available in this intervening thing.
Yes.
So just Amos was surprised by the soundtrack, and Andre felt it was fancy. Mitch has joined a little late, and of course, sulit yung pledge. Well, that pledge level was very expensive, so I didn't even try. But yeah, this is one of the few board game Kickstarters I backed personally, and I have no regrets. It was one of the most exciting ones out there. Also because so many stretch goals got unlocked, and yay. Okay, so Tokaido. So overall, why do we like Tokaido? Toby, what do you like about Tokaido?
Well, first, it's a calm game, despite being extremely competitive. The game has you taking turns, and in the turns that you take, it doesn't feel so much as you can't choose what to do, but more on which one are you willing to gamble on. Despite being a non-Euro game in the sense that you can clearly see who's leading in the points as you play, the game still has those nice moments of surprise because you might totally forget that there are temple points. Or you might not be
There are
keeping
people who
track
forget
of
about
the
that.
bonus points that come in based on the calligraphies that were taken.
Temples are tricky, guys. The winner of temple gets 10 points.
Mhm.
That's huge.
But
That's
if
a
you're
huge jump.
but if there's someone second place, you're only 3 points ahead.
That's true because you still get 7.
So it's not that huge unless you play it right.
Unless you ignore the temple.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you kind of have to balance a bit. But then also, like, if you think you have a shot at having the most baths, then darn it, find that monkey.
Mhm.
Keep going. You may need to skip a few slots to go for it. Yeah, and the same thing. I mean, I love it because it's a beautiful game, even without getting the collector's edition. The base game, in terms of the art, the card design, the aesthetics of it, absolutely beautiful game.
Mhm.
And it just reminds me that I will one day, Toby and I will go to Japan. We have never been to Japan, and this is the game that lets us travel there to some degree.
Mhm.
Okay. Also, Mitch is like, do you also discuss the food and the goods you can buy? Yes, we did.
Yes.
We talked about eating at the inn and, of course, souvenirs.
The food cards are brilliantly illustrated. They all look delicious. You will literally find yourself sometimes going, do I want tempura today or will I just get the...
And man, a lot of Japanese food is not keto. That's what this game reminds me. It's like, oh, rice balls. In addition, there is a digital app for this game, which is available on mobile. And is it also on Steam? I can't remember.
Yes.
But oh my god, it's kind of an extra game because they rendered everything with like 3D characters. I mean, it's not a 3D game, but you know, so everything as perspective and dimension. And the game can run a little slow because they animated every single character and they animated walking and they animated even the spots themselves. So there's a lot of love in that app and it nicely captured things. I only saw it as far as like possibly the Crossroads expansion. I don't know if it opened up more or was it just the base.
I think just the base. I'll have to kill the brightness. There. There it goes.
Ooh, and it's music from the soundtrack. From the official soundtrack.
So it says Tokaido Classic. Oops. Yeah, it doesn't show. Then you can play online or offline. And real quickly, you can even choose to play solo or pass and play.
Yeah, it's just the base.
You see the limited characters available, but let's just choose one and a quick peek on what the board looks like.
But look at that art, guys. That's that Naide, I don't know how to pronounce her name, design. It's just awesome.
So similar to the board,
You start at the end.
yeah, and you can see there are the different locations. But then at the bottom, you have the representation of the path and the locations you can choose. So I can choose to go. What is that? I can choose to go to the farm, and if I agree to, yay, animations, and we go back. To
He's going to walk. Let's see. Last player moves. Last player moves. Can the board game version be played alone? Technically, no. I don't know if there's automata for it. You need to compete to some degree because then it's weird, like because you don't have anyone to compare scores against, and there's no benchmark for it. And theoretically, if you play alone, you can hit every single spot. And I feel a lot of Tokaido is about the tightness of the game and denying you opportunities. Hi, Mai. Thanks for joining. And yes, the app is gorgeous. People asking also about Solo Tokaido on BGG.
There is an unofficial one that
Mm.
has been created, so you might want to check that out.
Oh wow. You are assisting monks on a journey and paying for everything. Freeloading monks. How appropriate. So
There's actually a number of solo variants that people have been creating.
okay, yeah, so that helps you, Karen. You can go look at Board Game Geek. There is several threads about playing Tokaido solo. There is an option there. David's like, I think you have 2 bots if you play solo. Yes, I suppose so.
I guess that means you're the top.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Strategies?
Hmm.
It's hard to strategize at Tokaido. Well, one is there is definitely that desire to maximize your character power.
Mhm.
So pay attention to what your power is and when it helps you score extra points. Also recognize when if you have other players who interact with the same space.
Yes.
For example, earlier the dancer who earns money at encounters, there's another person who gets to draw two cards at the encounter slot and then choose one.
Mhm.
So then you'll know both of you are competing for that thing.
Buying things early in the souvenir shop, as Mitch mentioned, is a great strategy because that allows you to plan out the sets you're creating early on. Portraits are amazing for points, but bear in mind, if you focus on the green one, you will end the game with 6 to 9 points. But that is more or less the same amount of points if you just go to the bathhouses or the hot springs.
Hot springs.
So knowing to combine targets is important in this game. If you focus on solely just the portraits, you will most likely have less points than someone who went on the temple, the souvenir shop, and tried portraits as well. Spread out your actions to make sure you can not just get points in those actions, but block others from getting the points they needed.
It's very risky not to eat at the inn unless you get the calligraphy that is all about not eating.
Mhm.
So I must warn you now that you must at least try to factor in having money left over to buy food.
Because the inn is always, regardless of the cost, 6 points. And 6 points is a lot.
It's a lot in this game when typically you can score. You'll probably be scoring 1 to 3 points in the first leg of the trip
Mhm.
at best. Okay.
The game can support 2 to 5 players, but the sweet spot is 4 if you want a good feel of competitiveness and the like. At 2 players, it feels a bit predictable. At 3, you feel like people gang up on you. And everyone will feel that way.
Because it gets very tight. And at 3 players, you don't unlock the additional slots. So
Yes.
every spot is only one. So that's quite tricky. My share, she does not strategize and just goes to the nearest, which is a valid move in itself.
But even with that, it's still fun.
Yeah, but for I guess because I play against Toby all the time, think about where you will land and already count what spaces you're probably not going to encounter.
Yes.
For example, in a 4-player game, assume that at least the first 3 spots ahead of you will be taken by the time your next turn comes along. So then you start thinking, can I give up that slot for the hot springs or for the encounter if it makes me lose my power stuff?
And then don't underestimate the power of blocking people from the farms. Given all characters start with a certain amount of coins at the start of the game,
And some start with very little.
most will have no other means of getting money if you block those spots, even if you don't need it. Because at the end, all the extra coins you have, just make sure you visit a souvenir shop at one point in time in the game to splurge all you need.
Or temple dump.
Yes.
Because you can spend up to 3 at the temple.
Mhm.
But don't forget, you must always pay at least 1 at the temple. You can't block the temple. Yeah. Mitch also agrees 5 players is so sikim.
Mhm.
Yes, it gets super, super tight. My place for fun. And that's totally valid. Because in the end, the nice thing, about Tokaido is that when you get to the end of the game, to the final inn, and everybody gathers, gets their meals together,
Mhm.
what you're really going to compare, like true tourists, is your story. And you get to show, look at these panoramas I assembled, look at these souvenirs I bought,
Mhm.
and look at all these monkeys that were in the bathhouse with me.
We normally end up joking about it in very Filipino ways. Mga pasalubong for my family. And then, dami mong kinain and stuff like that. And
Because you'll be left with a little tableau of cards that represents everything you did. As much as there is real-time scoring at the top of the board, so that you can track your points within the game, ultimately you can just look at your cards and figure out how many points you have. Because
Yes.
everything is declared on the board. It's super open information.
Yeah, the game does not have any cards face down except for when the expansions come in with the calligraphies. So there's always the joy of looking at other people's areas to see what most likely they will aim for. And with that,
Mitch was asking, "What's your current standing and who wins the most?" I don't know if I can pull it up.
you win the most.
I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been winning the most.
We have 24 tracked plays. Yeah, there's no summary. But did you look at this page? It's Toby, it's Ivan, it's Shiro, it's me, it's Toby, it's GM, it's Toby, it's me. So I think it's a pretty even spread. You
No,
can't
it's you.
really say.
I'm sure it's you.
I'm gonna check.
I'm sure it's you because you haven't been nagging for more sessions.
What? I'm not like that.
If you're losing, you'll be like, again.
You know that only happened that one night.
That's
That
true.
doesn't happen. A
That's
lot.
true.
I
That
don't know
only
why you keep bringing that up. I'm not that obsessed with it. Play stats. But if
Why aren't you answering? Why aren't you answering?
out of 24 track plays, I have won 10 games. I have won 43% of the time.
I knew.
Toby's next at 5.
5%?
No,
games.
5 games.
See? See? See?
Oh yes, Dave and Ed. We only played once. I'm sorry. Okay, so yes,
Told you.
I like this game. I bought this game. I'm very happy with this game, and it just gets better. I mean, and then it's funny because the expansions. I think that's the last thing I will leave with is that the expansions are at best small tweaks to the system.
Mhm.
They're not really big, complicated jumps
Mhm.
that add so many more new things.
Mhm.
The Matsuri is a fun little thing that happens in the middle. The Crossroads, you could still finish the game without choosing any of the new Crossroads
And
options
still win.
and still have a chance at
Yes.
winning because the fundamental game is just super solid. And then they haven't really released. I think they're done with the expansion. They've already moved on to Namiji, which is the boat game, which is set in the world of Tokaido, but it is not a Tokaido game. It's now you have boats. And I've backed this Kickstarter, obviously. So yeah, but this game's pretty wrapped up. This collector set is very hard to find now, I will admit.
Mhm. And it's extremely expensive.
It's extremely expensive in the secondary market. But if you do get a chance, it's super worth it, mainly because of the minis. I mean, and I'll admit, some of the coloring on the minis is weird. They don't quite match the colors of the characters on the card. But it's okay, because we're not painters. There was an option to get this with unpainted minis, but then I figure we were never going to get around to painting it or hiring someone to paint them, so we didn't do it.
For those who might be interested in the game, if you look at the secondary markets right now, there is someone selling a base set, not the collector's edition, but a base set of the game for less than 2,000. So you might want to look that up.
And it's still a good game. We first played the regular base set at Ludo QC. That's when we first got to try Tokaido, and I said, "Oh my god, I want this game." And then you can get the base game, the Crossroads expansion, and the Matsuri expansion in retail. Although it's a little harder to find the expansions on their own. You just won't get all the minis, and you won't get the special character cards for Naide, Antonio, and Enkiru. I always forget his name. So things to think about. But that's Tokaido. Tokaido is the game that lets us travel even though we're still in lockdown. That's why we super thank Mitch for suggesting this topic so that we can feel like we're traveling, even if it happens to be on the back of a turtle trying to take a bath with a monkey.
So that was more than 30 minutes. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
Into my screen or the video colors very undertones. It's the board. See, lower the board. Lower the board. We will. Then it adjusts, and then we're a little better. But then put the board again. I get darker.
Yeah, the whiteness is affecting the camera.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, but then Monday we will have our very own Tokaido journey. I hope if people want to join us for this Tokaido journey, please do, because we don't know we still haven't figured out a map out.
And
there.
then we'll freak out the natives when we all start looking at each other. Oh,
Number one,
Whiskies.
why are you calling them the natives? That sounds so colonial. And then two, are we gonna fist kiss? I keep saying fist kiss in public. Hey, to be fair, I've been fish kissing Toby our entire relationship. I'm so sorry. I should have shared that. Okay. Yes. So closing. Right. So if you have questions for us or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to submit them at the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. Once again, thank you, Mitch, for suggesting this topic. We had a lot of fun.
We need a dose of new questions, especially with the coming year. So please send them in.
Yes. You can follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade, RG Suniko.
You can also check out our blog, that's baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know, what did you think of Tokaido? Is this a game that you would like to play? And what is your preferred strategy? Will you eat your way to the end? Are you that darn orphan girl who begs for food for free? There's just all these crazy characters. And of course, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Have a good night, everyone, and let's get through this week. Woohoo! Too happy on a Monday. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.